Well, friends, good morning. It's good to be with you this morning, the 7 a.m. early Ash Wednesday crowd. This was impressive. There's other masses today, and you're here, the earliest one. You're like, I want those ashes on my head all day long, baby. That's what you're thinking. I know. So the end of this gospel, Jesus gives this exhortation, when you fast, do not look gloomy. And I was reading that again this morning. I'm like, you are talking to me, Lord. I love our feasting as Catholics. I struggle with the fasting. It's just how it is, right? I can go any other day of the year, any other day of the week. You know, I'm not eating until 3, 4 o'clock, but Ash Wednesday, Good Friday, those penitential days, when I can't eat, I'm dying, and I'm letting everyone know. So the Lord's like, don't look gloomy. So, here's what I want to direct our attention this morning. This first reading we have from the prophet Joel. We hear it every year on Ash Wednesday. Even now, says the Lord, return to me with your whole heart. Your whole heart. This is how the church commences the season of Lent for us, with these words, which are just dripping with affection and tenderness. And there's even this tone of begging on the Lord's heart, right? This is how the church commences this annual Lenten journey. Hearing, eavesdropping into the Lord's heart that is begging you and me to come back. This is the Lord's heart for his wayward sons and daughters, right? It's the Lord who says through the prophet Isaiah that we, all of us, had gone astray like sheep, each to his own way. And the thing is, when sheep wander, when they go on their own way, they end up in a very bad way. They end up feeding on things that they shouldn't be eating. They end up getting surrounded by enemies and predators. They become very susceptible and vulnerable, and that's us. That's you and me. That's where sin takes us. But what does the Lord say? Again, he's saying, even now, return to me. Do not mistakenly think that you've messed up too much, that you're beyond hope. Even now. In many ways, Luke 15, the story of the prodigal son, is the story of all of us in Lent. Right? The prodigal son, that's all of us, that we have all squandered ourselves, lost ourselves in the far distant country of our own sinfulness. We've wandered far from home, far from the Father's heart, far from the man or the woman that God has called us to be. And yet, the whole time, right, the Father comes to the balcony of his house every single morning, looking out into the horizon, and his heart is saying, even now, come back, my son, come back, my daughter, with your whole heart. And day after day, week after week, month after month, he waits patiently for the Son, for us to come home, for us to come to our senses, to arise and make our way back to our Father, right? This is the decision to come home. That's what Lent is. Lent is not the spiritual Olympics. We're not punishing ourselves because we've been so bad. We're not taking on penances because we need to earn our way back into the Father's heart. That's not at all how this works. That's exactly the mistake that the son made in the story of the prodigal son, where he's thinking, I've screwed up beyond belief. I'm not worthy to be called your son. Just treat me as a hired slave. I'll earn my way back in. I'll live in the basement of the house. We're not trying to placate a God who's so disappointed in us. No, Lent is the season of relenting to, acquiescing to the heart of the Father that's looking at you and me and saying, I love you. I always have. I always will. I do now, even though it doesn't make sense to you, and I'm begging you to come back home, to be reconciled to your God, as St. Paul says, to come to your senses. And so what do? We follow Jesus out into the desert, not to be punished, but to experience freedom. That's what the desert was for Israel. It was this place of freedom. It's where the Exodus took place. It's this place of freedom. So with prayer, with fasting, with almsgiving, let us be resolute in this journey to arise, to come to our senses, and to return to the Father even now.